These are the 10 most emotional MLB moments to come. Because still ahead, one player overcame stage 3 colon cancer to return on opening day, whereas another player hit a home run right after the infamous World Trade Center was destroyed. And don't get me started about the Chicago Cubs. But next, it's the special connection between Mike Trout and his biggest fan, Gavin Edelson. Gavin is such a diehard fan that by his 7th birthday, he can tell you almost everything about Trout. He knows where Trout was born, he knows his birthday, and he even knows his wife's name. But more importantly, he saw Mike Trout firsthand and up close in 2018. That season, Gavin traveled to watch the Angels face his home team, the Baltimore Orioles, during which he held up a poster pregame for his favorite player to see. And it turns out, Trout was so touched, he invited Gavin out onto the actual field for batting practice. Fast forward to 2019, and the kinship between Trout and the then 7-year-old had grown stronger than ever. Prior to a Friday night game, history repeated itself as Gavin met his hero on the field once more, this time receiving one of Trout's bats. In addition, Gavin asked Trout to hit a home run for him, to which Trout obliged, leading to this.
Trout skies one out toward left center field. This one's hit well to the wall. Will be gone. First one here in this ballpark.
Wow. This is a moment that neither Gavin nor Mike Trout would ever forget. Speaking of which, Tony Womack hit a home run in honor of his biggest fan. But unlike Trout, this wasn't just his biggest fan. This was also his biggest mentor. This person is none other than his father, who helped him turn into the man he is today. But sadly, his father passed away in 2001, when Womack was just 31 years young. So 3 weeks later, on Father's Day, Womack made it his mission to honor his dad. That's when this happened.
0-1 to Womack. And he lets one into right field. Could it be? Could it be? It is a grand slam for Tony Womack!
Dang, his dad must be smiling from up above. Just like the entire world was smiling for Trey Mancini in 2021. See, in 2021, the Orioles' Trey Mancini started feeling fatigued. For weeks, he didn't feel like himself and wondered what was causing him to feel so sluggish. Initially, he believed it was gluten intolerance. Later on, Mancini realized it was much worse than he originally thought. It was stage 3 colon cancer. 2 weeks shy of his 28th birthday, he went from living out his dream to wondering if he'd make it past 30. Instead of playing on baseball's biggest stage, he went into life preservation mode, receiving 4.5-hour chemo treatments every 2 weeks. However, that's when a miracle happened. And in March 2021, something happened that would forever change his life. The cancer had miraculously disappeared, allowing Mancini to return to the field. Hence, on April 2nd, 2021, Mancini made his triumphant return, leaving right where he left off.
Back to Baltimore, first baseman number 26, Trey Mancini.
It wasn't easy, but with perseverance and hope, Mancini shows us that anything is possible. And if you don't take my word for it, look at the Griffeys. When Ken Griffey Jr. was just 20 years old and Ken Griffey Sr. was 41, they got to do something no father-son duo had ever done. The first father-son teammates in MLB history. It's hard enough to make the MLB, let alone last long enough to play with your son. However, as fans would find out, this was just the beginning. On September 14th, 1990, the father-son duo broke history yet again. This time, becoming the first father-son duo to hit back-to-back home runs in a game.
Third now. Well hit to center field. Devon White going back. Gone! A 2-run home run. And he hits one well to left center field. Dante Bichette. Back-to-back home runs. What else can these guys do?
Wow. Every kid has dreams of playing professional baseball, but this was so much more than a dream. It was destiny. But somehow, our first honorable mention feels even bigger than that. Because imagine you're a little kid getting to throw out your first pitch, when the next thing you know, you're throwing the first pitch to your dad, who came back from Afghanistan. Suddenly, it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment and a family reunion.
The lieutenant colonel was in Afghanistan for the last year, so he did a message on the video board. Then he comes out in catcher's gear, unbeknownst to his daughter, Elena. You can see that smile underneath the mask. So Elena, who thought she was out here to throw out the first pitch for USO, throws it to the mask catcher, right down the middle. Nice toss there, and then the moment.
Not gonna lie, it doesn't get more touching than a military father surprising their kids. That said, this next moment is anything but tears of joy. See, in 2019, one outfielder's worst nightmare came true. As the story goes, Albert Almora Jr. was at bat for the Chicago Cubs, when next thing you knew, he had a foul ball down the third base line at 100 miles an hour. And worse yet, the ball hit a 2-year-old girl, sending her straight to the emergency room. That's when Almora realized that this moment was much bigger than baseball. Suddenly, the game felt meaningless, and the only thing that mattered was the little girl's well-being.
In the minor leagues, I mean, you've got some guys that everybody's high on down there.
Yeah, no question, and I think our guys have a tough time cracking our team. That's one of the things I said in spring training. Is this a tough team to crack?
AJ, as we look at your team right now, and that one went sizzling off into the stands, and just hope everybody's okay. Almora is
everybody's shaking.
Yeah, it hit a young child, and so Almora is really. I mean, he saw it. So
yeah, no, I mean, and the players, you can see everybody across the way. It's obviously the nets have been extended as far as anywhere in baseball, but this one hurts.
Yeah, it's frightening, and that's the bottom line. And I mean, Almora reacted immediately, and you can see him right there.
And it's probably difficult to know it's not your fault. You didn't direct it that way. But
but it happened. It happened, and with God willing, I'll be able to have a relationship with this little girl for the rest of my life. But just prayers right now. And that's all I really can control.
They make millions, but deep down, MLB players are teddy bears. And to prove it, look no further than September 21st, 2001, during which the Mets played their first home game since the terrorist attacks of September 11th. This was especially difficult for the players, as just 10 days ago, tragedy struck just a few miles away from their stadium. Many players contemplated even playing the game at all. Nevertheless, the players persevered, leading to one of the most iconic home runs in MLB history from the Mets' Mike Piazza.
Lopez wants it away, and it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
Take a look at this. He's got as much power as anybody. He got the arms extended. A long home run. And a curtain call.
When the world was hurting most, one game of baseball helped in a way that can't be explained. This brings us to our final honorable mention, the raw and emotional retirement of Prince Fielder. After all, Fielder put his blood, sweat, and tears into the sport. It was his passion and ultimately his way of life, from his 21st birthday until he turned 32. But when it was finally time for Prince Fielder to hang up the cleats, he responded in the most vulnerable way possible.
The doctors told me since 2 spinal fusions, I gotta, can't play Major League Baseball anymore. So I just want to thank my teammates, all the coaching staff. I'm really miss being around those guys.
Myth confirmed. Big boys cried too, which takes us to the 3 most emotional moments in MLB history, where the joy becomes 10 times greater and the pain becomes almost unbearable. But fortunately, our 3rd most emotional moment is nothing but full of joy, because it's not often you break a record, let alone one set in 1961. However, in 2022, Aaron Judge had a chance to do just that. He had a chance to break the American League single-season record of 61 home runs, set over 50 years ago. This wasn't just another record. It was about doing something that Yankee all-time greats like Babe Ruth and Roger Maris couldn't do, hitting 62 home runs. It wasn't easy, but with enough work and determination, Aaron Judge made the impossible feel possible.
High fly ball, deep left. There it goes, soaring into history. He's done it. He has done it. 62. Aaron Judge is the American League single-season home run leader. The AL King. Case closed. 122 seasons in American League history, and no man has ever hit more home runs than that man. Aaron Aaron Judge with 62.
Wow, this moment gives me chills. Aaron Judge is living his dream, and we all get to see it firsthand. However, for every great moment, there's also a sad moment. And on November 7, 2017, the MLB lost an absolute icon, Roy Halladay. That day, Halladay was taking his private plane for a joyride near the Gulf of Mexico. Little did fans know, this would, unfortunately, be his last ride, as what was stated as a joyride eventually turned into a tragic plane crash. A crash that Halladay would be unable to survive. At just 40 years young, the 8-time All-Star and 2-time Cy Young winner had died of blunt force trauma and drowning. That said, the real cause of death was prescription drugs, as right before Halladay started flying his plane, he had pumped himself full of a dangerous cocktail of prescription drug. According to New York Times, the amphetamines found in his system were 10 times the recommended level. To make matters worse, he had also taken an antidepressant, a sleep aid, a muscle relaxant, and morphine right before the plane ride. But whether the death was intentional or purely a lapse of judgment, the fact remains the same. Halladay was one of the greatest pitchers to ever live, and the entire baseball world suffers from his death. But now, it's time for the most emotional moment in MLB history. Spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with tragedy and everything to do with the Chicago Cubs. See, in the Cubs' 148-year history, there's one thing that's been lacking: winning. Over the last century and a half, the Cubs have only mustered up 21 playoff appearances and won 3 world championships. 2 of those championships came in 1907 and 1908. Yet, in the 100 years since then, Cubs have lost 7 World Series in a row. In fact, it wasn't until the 2016 season they finally struck pay dirt. Despite originally trailing the World Series 3-1, the fans stayed loyal and the players stayed optimistic. If there was a so-called curse surrounding the Cubs, they were determined to break it. Fast forward to Game 7, and Mike Montgomery made a play that changed everything.
Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs winning the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have finally won it all. It's 7-10.
This goes to show the best things in life are those worth waiting for. Gosh darn, man, now I'm about to cry. At this point, there's only one thing that can get me to stop crying. You watching another one of my videos, so help an emotional brother out. And I'll see y'all there.